So you've managed to get yourself an informational interview or coffee chat with somebody in your network. And now you want to make sure that you nail that informational interview. Well done. You've come to the right video. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through how do you prepare for the informational interview? What's the rough structure you may want to consider using to have the maximum impact? How do you ask for their help, and what kind of things can you ask in that first conversation? And then follow-ups and how to nurture that relationship moving forward. So before we move into the informational interview, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shub Faujdar. I am a Singapore-based career coach and job search strategist and a former corporate recruiter. And I share on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday videos on career development and job search. Tuesday are short, quick, weekly, actionable tips, less than 2 minutes, whereas Thursdays are deep dives. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any videos moving forward. So what exactly are informational interviews? Well, basically, these are conversations you've arranged, or rather informal chats or coffee chats you've arranged without actually the company having a role. So you're not going to interview for a proper position. You're going to investigate more about the kind of role the person is doing, the kind of organization they are a part of, to see if this person would be able to help you with your career and your job search. So a couple of things to get very clear on. In an informational interview, you are the interviewer. You are the person who requested for this conversation. Now, hopefully you found some common angle, or you like the way this person steered their career, and that was your ask during the message you sent out to them to have that conversation. And we will use that throughout the conversation to get to know a bit more about the person. But since you are the interviewer, the quality of your questions, the research you do about them, the way you guide the whole conversation will make a major impact on how much this person is willing to help you in your job search journey. So preparation and research is key. Now, let's think of who you should be researching about. Definitely the interviewer. You've reached out to this person, so you need to know about this person, not only in the context of this current role, but also the kind of schools they went to. What do they do? Any hobbies, any interviews of theirs you could find on the internet, any podcasts, which companies have they worked? How have they progressed in their career? So you need to have an idea of all these things so that you can ask them targeted questions which are specific to them instead of very generic questions. The second thing you want to research about is the company itself. What's happening in the company? Of course, the business model. How does this company make its revenue? A company like Meta, even though it's a social media platform, their business model is through advertisements. It's not the platform itself. So you need to understand how are they making the revenue. Then do some research on Glassdoor, see what people are saying about that company. I would also encourage you to look at Wikipedia. Now, I know Wikipedia, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, but you might come across certain news articles which may be worth exploring further. Look at the latest news about this company and their earnings call report. If it's a public listed company, it will give you an idea of what are the focus areas for the coming years. Once you've done this research, now you need to prepare good questions. The quality of your questions is going to impress this person way more than you talking about your experience. For example, a good question is, what is the biggest challenge XYZ company is facing right now? You know what? Anybody can ask this question of anyone. You can just wake up and go for an informational interview and ask this question. But a better question would be, I was reading through the earnings call report, and a couple of challenges which were highlighted were blah, blah, blah. How is this impacting your team, and how are you dealing with it? Now, firstly, you've shown them that you've done the research, you understand the business, you understand the challenges. At the same time, You're asking them how is it impacting their team. So you're not asking them about the whole company or the whole world. This person may not be in a position to answer that. But when you bring it down to them and their team, they can have a conversation with you. So I'll prepare a few questions. Doesn't have to be a lot. 2-3 questions to get the ball rolling about the company is good enough, and definitely about their experience. So you've prepared your questions, you've done your research, and today is the day to go for your informational interview or coffee conversation. How do you drive that whole conversation? Look, the number one thing is you need to give them something to converse about. Don't go with the assumption that just because they said for a meeting, they would have done research on you. They're not hiring for a role. You ask them from the goodness of their heart, or because something about you struck them, they said yes. But you have to drive the conversation. So prepare a 45 seconds to 1 minute elevator pitch. Some of the things that the elevator pitch can cover is your career story, very quick liner about some of the areas you want them to remember about you. Then you can talk about what are you looking for and why. So if you are at career crossroads, you can talk about that. You can talk about what kind of roles you're looking at, some achievements in your past role, just the highlights of it. So I would not go into details or even quantification at this point in time. Say you've been a program manager. So you can talk about, within my program management, I've looked at large scale programs covering the whole of APAC region, where we helped the company to get into mergers and acquisitions. I've also helped more country-specific programs across blah, blah, blah. So you're giving them 2-3 pointers to choose from, and definitely have some personality hooks. So something outside of work that you like to do. The whole purpose of this elevator pitch is, firstly, they get some context about you. They get 3-4 different hooks. So if I use the fishing analogy, you're basically putting a few hooks and baits in your elevator pitch and see which one they catch. That will help you to drive the conversation. And then you're also telling them, why are you having this conversation upfront rather than making it awkward? And they're like, okay, what is this person going to ask me? So you can talk about how you're at career crossroads. You saw this person's profile and were impressed with the way they had grown their career, or whatever common angle you found to be able to arrange this coffee conversation. After your interview, ask them questions. So I already gave you an example of one question, but honestly speaking, I feel your question should be to this person. So I would ask a lot more questions about the person's experience. If they are alumni from your B school or from your undergrad school, I'll say, look, I saw that after graduating from XYZ, you went on to this, and then you did this, and it's very impressive. And I would love to have a career like that. How did you go about with it? What do you love about the roles? If you reached out to them with the angle that you're interested in XYZ company and want to know about the working culture of the company, then you ask them questions based on that. You've been with the company for 3+ years and you've been promoted a couple of times. Tell me, how is it like working for the organization? What do you like? What do you think can be improved? So you are getting the person to talk about their experience. People love to talk about themselves. So asking them personal questions definitely helps. Once you've asked them a few of these questions and the conversation progresses well, you think you're building some rapport, some chemistry, now is the time to get their help and ask them questions specific to you. So in this section, I'm going to cover what are the 4 questions you should definitely be asking everyone. Now, if you have more than 4 questions, definitely go about with them. But these 4 questions are worth asking everybody you're meeting for a coffee conversation. So the 4 questions I will ask anyone I'm meeting for coffee conversation. Number 1, genuinely ask for their advice. Look, I've shared my experience with you, and as I said, I'm quite impressed with the way you've gone about with your career. What kind of advice would you give somebody like me if I want to join the same industry or progress in this particular function, or work for a company like XYZ. Genuinely listen to their advice. Make notes so you can take action on these things. The second question I will ask them is, since you are in the industry, I would love to know what kind of companies should I be applying for? Now, it may sound counterintuitive and you can think, you know what, I want to apply in their company. But the moment you ask this question, you are taking a lot of pressure off this other person. They are dreading at what moment you're going to tell them, can you give me a job in your company? And the moment you ask this question of other companies, it tells them that, look, I am interested in ABC, but I'm also exploring opportunities elsewhere. Is there anywhere else I could be applying? Of course, a lot depends on the context, but in most situations, this works. The third question I will ask them is, who in your network do you think I should be speaking with to help me further in my job search and my career? Now, this is a fantastic question to ask, because if you meet a person and then every person you're meeting refers you to one or two additional person, so much of your time, which is invested in doing research, who to speak with, how do you approach them, will be saved. And when somebody else refers you to another person, that person has a higher social obligation to reply to this person. So the chances of success are much higher. Now, the key is to zip up your mouth once you ask this question, because most of the time people are not prepared for answering a question like this. They're just thinking who they can connect, and we give them an easy way out. We say, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it if you don't have anyone. Let them speak first. Even if they say that, look, I can't think of anyone right now, let me come back to you, that's okay, but let them speak first. And the final thing you want to ask them is, would you or anyone in the organization be hiring in the coming months? Again, I want to put the idea in their mind without actually saying, can you give me a job? So a few things which this statement does is, I'm not looking at only you, anyone else in the organization. And coming months, I don't need the job at the moment, even if you do. Take the pressure off them and let them think about it. So these would be the four main questions I will ask all people in informational interviews. Now to the crucial part. Look, there's so many people who are fantastic in having first informational interviews and coffee chats. But here's the thing. If I've met you only once, I don't trust you enough to be able to endorse you to my network or to hire you in my company. I need to have a few more conversations. And the best technique to do that is to reach out to this person, not to ask for a job, but to show them that you are an action taker. So here are a few things you can do. In the initial part of the conversation, when you are talking about their experience, you've told about them, if there are some interesting points, there's some interesting topics, something they're very passionate about, note these things down. If you find an article, if something comes up about that particular topic, reach out to this person and say, hey, this made me think about you. I hope all is well. You don't need to keep on reminding them that you're looking for a job search. They know that already. But when you reach out to them, you're rekindling that conversation. The second thing which makes a huge difference is when they give you advice or they tell you about a company or refer you to a network, take the smallest possible action step to move you in that direction. So it could be reaching out to this person. It could be that, they told you about a particular advice and you did a small action to it. Go back to them and update them that you have taken their advice and you've taken action on their advice. Again, look, I speak to a lot of job seekers and I do these conversations, sometimes these 10 minutes conversation. Majority of them ask me for advice, I tell them, and I never hear back from them. I know as job seekers, a lot of you are frustrated about recruiters ghosting them, but honestly speaking, you don't do a much better job as well. Here's someone who's taken time out of their busy schedule to give you advice, and more than 95% of job seekers don't even go back to them to update them on what they did with that advice. So don't be that person. ask them for advice, action on it, and then update them. If you, during the period of your research, found that their advice doesn't apply to you, you can again go back to them and said, it was great advice. I did a bit more research. This is what I found out, and I'm thinking of doing another action. What are your thoughts? And see how they react to it. But please do keep them in the loop. It's when you start having these one or two update information messages, emails to them, that's when the trust starts to build. Otherwise, you're just one of the people who asked them for advice and then never showed up. So I hope this video is helpful to you and you're going to nail that informational interview or coffee conversation to create more opportunities. I also have a very quick announcement to make. We will be launching a digital course on relationship building, also known as networking for job search, on 23rd of February. The details for that particular course are on the link, and you might see a poster somewhere here. So if you're interested in taking your networking and relationship building for job search to the next level, to really understand all the nuances and small actions you can take to make that happen, please do register to the wait list, and we'll follow up with more details.